members of the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee. So that would be Councilmember Friedson, Councilmember Katz, and myself, as well as Councilmember Katz wearing two hats, Council President and member of the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee, and also Vice President Hucker. And so today what we have are basically one item that includes a briefing from the Office of the Inspector General, as well as the Office of Internal Audit. And so we have with us our Inspector General, Ms. Megan Marcy, and we also have Mr. Roby here with us as well. Let me fix my screen. I also want to thank all of our esteemed guests. I know we have with us Ms. Fariba Kassiri as well, and everybody that has been working on these issues for quite a bit. I think this month marks the 1 year that our county appointed our first female Inspector General, Ms. Marcy. So it's been, I'm sure, quite an amazing experience and year with a lot of work. And that's, I think, a really wonderful celebration here. And really pleased with everything that you have done so far. I also think that it's important to note that this committee, the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee, has worked really hard. I know Councilmember Friedson has led the charge in a lot of very important pieces of legislation to strengthen our Office of Inspector General, as well as some of our processes. And I think that's been really important, especially as we now, during this year, have been very busy in adopting a lot of special appropriations, for example, to respond to COVID-19. So it's as if we kind of knew that something was happening, because a lot of these things were put in place in 2019. And now I think it helps both the Office of the Inspector General as well as the internal audit functions that we were able to do all of these things. Also, of course, as we all know, just as a reminder, the Maryland General Assembly authorized our county council to enact laws granting the OIG oversight of Montgomery College Housing Opportunity Commission and Montgomery County Board of Education and MCPS. So there's a lot going on, and I think it speaks volumes to how all of us are so committed to ensuring that we have transparency and, of course, varying accountability to our taxpayers. So with that, because I know it's getting late, it was a long session, especially in the afternoon, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Blaise DeFazio to walk us through our items, and then we'll engage in a conversation with our Inspector General as well as our internal audit representative, Mr. William Broglie, and colleagues. Mr. DeFazio.
Okay. Good afternoon. So the packet in front of you contains summaries of the updates with more detailed updates as the attachments at the end. I'm actually going to turn it over to Ms. Lamarzi, and she's going to present the Inspector General updates, and she's going to be followed by Mr. Broglie and Ms. Kassiri to present updates for the Office of Internal Audit.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the committee. It's very nice to see all of you. Thank you so much for having me. As Ms. Navarro stated, yes, I marked my 1-year anniversary on September 1st, and it really has been a pleasure and an honor to be in this position. We released our annual report to mark my 1-year anniversary on September 1st, which is required by our enabling statute that we report back to the council and the executive on what we've been up to. And I really am grateful for the work of my staff. They have pivoted beautifully during these trying times, and the work we do can already be challenging. People don't always want to immediately take a call from the OIG, but my staff has really been tenacious and working really closely with members of the executive branch on a lot of different things, and we're getting a lot done, and we have a lot more to do. The slides that I provided, and I won't go through all of them because I know it's been a long day, and I'm sure you've all read my report millions of times already at this stage. It's great fun reading, but I am really proud of the uptick in work that we've been able to meet. As you saw in our report, the complaints that we received have gone up significantly. And those complaints, the numbers, really are attributable to the outreach that we have done. And we have data that shows visits to our website and the increase in complaints that we received, really do track with some of those outreach efforts. And Ms. Kasiri and I worked together, and I think it might have been one of the first times the OIG was able to put out an all-employee email this spring during COVID. And so those types of items, adding to the county's websites, being part of the Employee Connect email, and also having new materials that we give out to all new employees who come to the county really have made a difference, I think, and it is going to continue to be one of my guiding principles, is to do significant outreach so that the residents of the county, county employees, and anyone who's interested really knows that if they have concerns, where they can go. Those complaints and the uptick in those complaints led to a number of preliminary inquiries, 42 preliminary inquiries. We made 34 referrals to outside agencies or to the executive branch. We issued 18 reports. Reports include program reviews that we did, investigatory reports, management alerts, and of course we had a confidential investigation that we put out as well. We looked at programs covering $50 million of funding. Now, I know the county has much more than that, but this was a significant start as we were getting going. And as you mentioned, really the biggest driver to a lot of the work that we've been doing is changes in legislation. So the addition of HOC and Montgomery College have been significant, and October 1st, when we officially have more oversight capabilities at the school system, I expect will potentially have an impact on our work as well. And I've already begun laying the foundation for that work and met with the State Inspector General for Education a couple of times this summer. So it is something that we're going to continue to work on. Obviously, Bill 1119 also mandates a great deal of work for us. So we are increasing our staffing. We've increased our language capabilities, which was really critical to me. And right now, we have 4 open engagements that some of the work really is driven by COVID. And I think it's important to note that though the Inspector General is required to issue a 4-year work plan, the enabling statute also does allow for times when we revise that work plan, and also some flexibility to really respond to what is an active issue, concern within the county. And I think it's critical that our office continues to be nimble and to meet those requests. And so you'll see on, I believe it's our 3rd slide, the announced engagements that we have in process. We have a review of the FEG program right now, and our hope is to issue early on, and we're getting close to being able to issue a lessons learned, at least to distribute, so that as the county continues to put forth more grant programs, that there are some lessons that could be learned early on from the FEG that could help to improve efficiency and also prevent any any types of fraud or waste. We're doing a review at DTS, specifically looking at computers that have been procured to support telework during the pandemic. And then the other 2 open engagements we have in progress right now, one is a review of the Employee Retirement Plan and Consolidated Retiree Health Benefits Trust, which has been a project on the Inspector General's work plan for some time. That predated me. That was something Mr. Blancett had identified as a potential risk that really deserved some oversight and hadn't gotten some from our office in a while. So that's a project that we did open the engagement this summer. And lastly, Mr. Blancett also committed to you, the council, to engage in a review of the corrective actions that were put in place in response to the Peter Bang issue. And so we did begin that engagement as well this summer and continue to work to assess whether those corrective actions have been taken and are in place, hopefully doing the job that everyone had hoped that they would. In terms of our work plan, we've had a great deal of success in completing some of the projects that we had previously identified. We had planned reviews of EEO, and I know that just came up in GEO a moment ago, and the report we did in OHR, Mr. Blantz had issued that just last summer, and then we did another report on the EEO office and Office of Human Rights, and that was a report I'm very proud of. I think it really is important to make sure that the county is able to address concerns of county employees and employees of other businesses within the county related to equal opportunities and equal rights, and that was one of the reports that we had worked on and had put out. Moving forward, we really continue to tick off some of the items in the work plan, of course. We have intentions in the work plan to begin a project on bridge contracts, which have been a previous item of interest in other issues that we've had from our office. Of course, we receive complaints on our complaint hotline and conduct investigations in addition to the reviews that we have planned. This summer, we spent a great deal of time working on beginning to put a diversity, equity, and inclusiveness lens on the work that we do. And I spent a great deal of time working with our audit division staff that is growing, and we are building, and we just hired our audit chief. And as we begin to work through our processes and procedures, we are going to apply a DEI lens to our work. And I think it's something that is a real value add that we can give to the county and to the work that we do. And of course, standing up the audit division remains my top priority as I continue into this last year of the term. And as always, very appreciative of everyone's support, and I'm happy to take any other questions on specific items if you'd like.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lamarcy. This was a great summary of everything that you've been doing. I have to say that I feel really, really great, and especially with the outreach that you've done. I think that speaks volumes, and it's so important. People need to know that they are able to contact you, to connect with you if anything comes up, and that's what we want. We want to make sure that that people feel comfortable and people understand that they can reach out to you. Let me ask my colleagues if they have any questions for Ms. Lamarcy, any comments? Just kind of raise your hand. No, we're good. Super thorough. Oh, Councilmember Peterson.
Yeah, no questions, just comment. Congratulations on the 1 year, and proud of the work that you're doing, and proud of the council's efforts and this committee's efforts to give you the resources that you need and to push forward some of the most significant oversight changes that the county has ever seen. And appreciate it. It took a little bit of work, but appreciate the collaboration of the executive branch as well to embrace the changes that have been made. I know change can be difficult, and I think it's the beginning of more changes to come. Stay tuned on that. I know colleagues are aware, but we have some additional changes in store that I think will be building upon the work that we've done. But I think that the work this committee did has helped to put you in a position to respond to the massive increase in workload that you have had to do, both in terms of resources and in terms of the changes legislatively that were made. So appreciate you stepping up in such a big way to respond to what clearly was our interest and our efforts, and I think the county is better served as a result of your service and the work that we've been able to do together. So thank you.
Council President Katz.
Thank you very much, and let me just echo that. I mean, I really wasn't going to speak, but I think it is necessary to say, first of all, it's amazing that it's 1 year. I mean, it's the blink of an eye, and it's 1 year, and of course, you're in one of those positions that it's like life insurance. You hope you don't cash in the policy. You hope that you have no work, but obviously you do, and you do a wonderful job, as does your department, when you're so very necessary to be doing the job. So thank you for all that you do, and as I say, we will go forward with a continued renewed fervor. Thank you.
Council Vice President Hucker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Megan, this is terrific work. I echo everything that's been said. Congratulations on a very productive year, heading us very much in the right direction. Just a couple quick questions. overall, now you've been cranking out these reports and audits. You've learned a lot. I imagine that you didn't know a year ago. Generally, what are your thoughts on the direction we need to go? Do you have everything you need? Is there any need for additional legislation?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that the council is really responsive to what we may need in terms of legislation. I'll start there. That's the easy one.
Yeah.
And I promise I will continue to bring forth ideas as I see them. I think the county is doing all they can and really doing a magnificent job to sort of build the plane as it's flying in response, especially to COVID. But the things that slow everybody down are the controls that are in place to really try and protect all of the resources that the county has, which are even more precious probably right now than they were even a year ago. And so I think that it's just a continuous process of everyone trying to remember that they want to do everything they can to help everyone as fast as possible, but sometimes we do need to slow down and take a step back and to try to do it right. But so far, we are just working through each item as we come and hoping that the executive branch will continue to be as responsive as they have been and accepting of our recommendations. And then we'll get back in there and we'll be able to test and see with follow-up audits whether items have been implemented and whether the corrections are addressing the issues that we found in the first place. And hopefully they are, and we move on and we're good. And if not, then I have every confidence they're going to come up with another plan and we'll start again.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You mentioned the increase you've had in complaints. We all, probably none of us want to know that there's any increasing subject of complaints, but we're glad that people are bringing them forward if there are. How do people find out about the hotline? How is that advertised?
We have it in a couple different places. The hotline is on the main page for the county government as a whole. It's on the county council's webpage. We put it on all of the materials that we put out. And then it's on, again, all of our reports. And Ms. Kassiri and I did work together. We put out at least 2 emails, I think, to county employees. And my next goal really when things get to a place where it's more feasible is to start engaging more with current county employees. That was something I'd hoped I'd be able to do sooner than I've been able to. Mm-hmm. And to offer fraud training and training just to folks to think about it. I tell everyone all the time, if it feels like something may be wrong, it may be perfectly fine, but just give us a call. We have the resources. That's what we're here for. We'll work on it for you. But I don't want people to think, oh, that felt yucky, but I don't want to make a fuss. Right. It's not making a fuss. It's those sorts of input that really are critical to improving everything. And I think everyone who's involved really does want to know if something's not quite working the right way, even if it's an appearance issue. Right. No one wants to give an appearance that something is really untoward.
If you see something, say something applies to you all as well.
You got it.
How do employees learn about their protections, whistleblower protections?
We make sure that we tell folks when they call us or contact us. It's written into the county code. We are prohibited from telling anyone the names of complainants unless the complainant gives us permission. And we take that really, really seriously. The county has also put into our section of the code that there are ramifications, potential criminal ramifications if someone were to retaliate against an employee. And again, I think those are the types of things that we can't say enough, right, and that are really important to raise with all the employees here.
Yeah, I appreciate you reassuring people who have the courage to come forward. I could see I'm more worried about people who don't have the courage to come forward because they don't want to jeopardize their job. And I'm wondering if you think it should be part of employee onboarding or some other kind of education for new employees in their trainings, if it's not.
I absolutely do. And before COVID struck and they took new employee onboarding completely online and have to squeeze everything into a tiny amount of space, I had started to work with contacts in HR so we could have our 5 minutes in front of everyone. And on the back of all of our materials, we even have an SR code so that all you have to do is put your phone, your camera on it, and it automatically loads us as a contact into your phone. So we're trying very hard to make it easy for people to have our contact information readily available to reach out to us.
Okay, terrific. Thanks for all your hard work. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Mr. DeFazio, I don't see any more questions. What's next? Do we go right into the internal audit report?
Yep, right into the internal audit.
Okay, Mr. Brody.
Yes, thank you.
Can I just briefly,
Yes,
Just
Ms. Kasiri.
Madam Chair, just wanted to thank you for, I know this was a year ago we were in front of you. Before Bill gets into the detail of what we've done, just wanted to report back that since then, since the last bill was passed, Councilmember Friedson's bill was passed, we have initiated or actually started a risk compliance committee. It's an internal committee. Includes finance, OMB, procurement, DTS, county attorney. I chair it. We meet on a quarterly basis. The committee reviews and even some sensitive cases. Like recently, there was a referral from IG on a sensitive matter from DTS, and I just called the meeting with the committee to discuss it. And I know we have sent County Council our audit plan, I think a couple months ago, which basically explained the process we followed and our proposed plans. And with that, I think Bill can go over our ongoing audits, and we are keeping track of implementation of all the audit recommendation by IG, our own audits, and OLO as well. And we report that to Ms. Lamarcy as well. That's it. So, Bill, do you want to take over from there?
Thank you, Ms. Kasiri. Mr. Brody.
Yes, thanks, Reba, and thanks, Mauro. Actually, I want to pivot on the reference that Reba made to the audit plan that we sent over in early June. That plan really laid out what we're reporting on in the report that we sent over for discussion. It reported that we switched in 2019 to a different way of conducting risk assessments for the county, where we literally take an operation and do a deep dive on it to identify, one, whether there are adequate controls that are in place, whether they appear to be working, and then secondly, we follow that up with targeted internal control reviews where we actually take transactions and test those transactions to make sure that the controls that were identified during the flood risk assessment are in fact working as they were intended to work. So you'll see in the audit reports issued that we did a procure to pay fraud risk assessment, which really looked at cradle to not quite crave, but from when people do a solicitation for services or acquiring things through the point where those services are received and delivered and invoiced for, what are the controls that are in place. And then we're in the process now in the ongoing reviews and conducting 2 of the 3 internal control reviews that were identified we should do. One on receiving, invoicing, and making payments for the services received, and the second one on looking at essentially the contracting phases of the process. The other focus for this year was taking a look at IT. We had conducted and issued a report June of this year on risk assessment within the enterprise IT environment. And based on results of that risk assessment, there were 5 areas that we had identified. We would focus on doing, again, deep dive reviews on 2 of them are listed here as part of the ongoing reviews, specifically change management, and second one on patch management. And as we identified in the report, the 3 others that we expect to kick off a little bit later this year We're taking a look at vendor and contractor management for IT services support, network security, and access management and access controls that are in place with the county. The other ongoing review that I did not discuss is similar to the procure-to-pay operation. The county operates a rather robust purchase card program, which is how county, for usually smaller purchases, individual items, but in totality equals in excess of $17 million a year. We're taking a look at that operation to identify, again, what are the controls that are in place and how effectively those controls are operating, and where there are weaknesses, we'll be identifying recommendations that the county, particularly the Department of Finance, be asked to implement. And then I'll pivot from that to final activity that this office is responsible for is tracking ongoing implementation of corrective actions that have been identified as being needed to address either recommendations that came out of an Inspector General report, recommendations that came out of an internal audit report, or recommendations that emanated from an Office of Legislative Oversight report. We follow that up on a quarterly basis for any open recommendations. We track those recommendations, ensure that they are fully and timely implemented, and as appropriate, we do follow-on reviews. Make sure that, in fact, corrective actions that we report on being completed have, in fact, been implemented. And so you'll see in one of the audit reports issued, the one for the alcohol beverage services warehouse inventory management, where internal audit had previously done a review of that operation, came back in to take another fresh look at that, and generally found that controls that needed to be put in place and the corrective actions that needed to be taken by alcohol beverage services were in fact taken, but there were some additional less critical controls that needed to be tightened up, and or in some cases additional documentation of standard operating procedures so that as personnel changed within EPS, the controls that were put into place continued forward in an effective manner. That's all the substance that I'm planning to brief you on. Happy to take any questions any members have.
Thank you very much. I don't see any text. Any of my colleagues, do you have any follow-up questions or comments? Don't see any. Well, I don't think there's anything else outstanding. Mr. DeFazio, is there? No? Well, thank you so much for these reports and for this briefing. Obviously, we will continue to stay in touch with you and really appreciate all the work that's been put into a lot of this investigations and these reports, and also the collaboration. Obviously, issues of capacity, are such that this committee has always been interested in. And just as we responded to the OIG, Ms. Lamarzi, in terms of your capacity needs, obviously, same thing with the internal audit. We're always interested in making sure that you do have the resources in order for you to execute the work that we have trusted you with doing. So really appreciate this work. And with that, I believe that we are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Closed at all times as construction access as well as staging continues.
On Monday, July 13, 2020, Washingtonian Boulevard will be closed for traffic from Fields Road to the Coverly Drive. The traffic signal on Washingtonian Boulevard at Fields Road will be turned off for approximately 3 months.
Information. Please call the Transit Information Center at 240-777-7433.
1/2 of normal service. MCDOT also